Hola, soy Julio César Chávez.
And lights out, baby. Lights out all day.
This is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you listen to Fight Net Radio.
I mean, this is ridiculous. It's a radio show. It ain't a one-hour television spectacular.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
We gon' know. I got eyes and ears everywhere. I got friends all over the world, man.
Who gives a shit with Whitey? He's a piece of crap.
With a tear in my eye.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Fight Net Radio. Lee Honish, Andrew Labouche, Miguel Antonio Barragan, bringing you the wonderful world of boxing and sports. This week, we have Andrew for about 45 minutes. Miguel and I will stay on and do a side hustle and maybe talk about UFC to fill up those last 15 minutes. We want to give you every penny of what you don't spend on this show. Quick round the horn. I start with Andrew Labouche. Andrew, how are you?
Doing good, Lee. The Golden Gate Fields, the racehorse scene opened up yesterday, so me and the family were back at the track yesterday and actually did good. Christina had a nice hit on the way out. Final race.
So your wife, much like me when it comes to predicting boxing outcomes, is smarter than you.
Hey, I took the winner on that one, but she got the trifecta, which was much heavier. So it was very good. Two horses in double digits on the trifecta. The winner and the third place horse were both in double digits. So she did good.
Hooker dollars. Miguel Antonio Barragan. Yeah, that's exactly what Chris is doing with the money. Miguel Antonio Barragan, how are you and how's Vegas?
I'm doing well, thank you. Vegas is doing all right. From what I've read, there was supposed to be a full capacity by June. That's the last thing I heard. I'm not sure if that's, I assume that means with the masks as well, of course, but like reducing or removing that social distancing thing, that's what I heard at least. I don't watch the news. I just kind of hear tidbits. But yeah, other than that, I'm good. No side effects from the second COVID shot or the vaccine yet, at least. Down the line, maybe. But as of right now, still not a zombie.
Awesome. Well, I can help you out with full opening. I know for a fact I'm speaking May 14th at an event. Oof. And I think it's 100 seats. So we'll see how it goes. Also, I'm going to my first baseball game of the year on Tuesday night to see the Brewers play the Padres, which should be about as compelling as watching paint dry because they don't have real food. You got to do bullshit on your screen. And for the really good seats, you actually have to have a clean COVID test, which is funny to me. I'm in the general socially distanced population part of the park, which makes less sense since the section next to me is you got to have your ID card. I don't know the difference, but it's like we should be separated on the field. Like the left side of the stadium gets to do one thing and the right side gets the other. But all I know is that I got 18 rows back over the Padres dugout, and it was like only $100 a ticket. Like, because they're playing the Brewers, let's be honest. Nobody wants to go to that game. Normally, even when the Padres are doing shitty, like club seats are $200 or $300. So, who would pay that for the Padres ever?
Those are fun games, though, Lee, because you get a lot of foul balls, home runs, anything hit in your area, you're going to get a chance to get because one's there.
Socially distanced. There's no one to fight with. This is going to be my best opportunity for a foul ball in my lifetime. So
now you're saying you just run towards the ball with no mask, and it's basically your ball, right?
Right.
You don't have to die for it or anything.
I'm going to just start coughing towards the ball.
COVID!
My germs.
I'm
I got no card.
It should be very interesting. But I'm looking forward to it, so that'll be fun. And the Perfect Blue Studios are moving out of this particular location. That's why you don't see any of the cool backdrops that any of you who really look at that little tiny picture in the corner. We actually have a really cool studio set up. It's all packed in boxes behind me. You're just looking at a big empty yellow room that the studio was built in. And we will have a permanent home, and you'll actually have the address, I guess, because it's a business. You could probably look it up on Google for that matter. We will be moving over to just outside of Little Italy here in San Diego. So it's great. I'm very excited. Things are moving. Things are happening. There you go, everybody in Fight Net Radio Land. I have Andrew for approximately 35 more minutes. So let's get to the news of last week. If this is your first time watching the show, I'm going to explain the format of the show. It's a very simple format of the show. We rewind to the last time we talked about boxing. I go through all the news stories, figuring out which ones I want to talk about, not really what those two guys want to talk about. Why? Because really, let's be honest, if we talked about half of the shit that was on any of these websites, while Andrew and Miguel would have a wet orgasm-y dream to talk boxing on that level, I would be very unhappy. So I pick the stories that I find the most entertaining, that are usually the most mainstream, so that when you're at a party and people talk boxing around you, you will be just uncomfortable enough. I don't think you need to be an expert. And really, more importantly, I like entertaining boxing writers, and they're the ones who wrote all this shit in the first place. This week we are using Boxing Scene. Yes, we haven't used them in a while because, well, they're part of the PBC. But that's just amusing to me and Andrew because we've talked about it for years. Let's start right off. Last week where we left off, and we didn't talk about this, Evander Holyfield is hitting the ring on the Lopez-Cambosa undercard. Evander Holyfield will take on Kevin McBride as the co-main event in that fight. Now, here's the remarkable part, because I was amused by this. Both Miguel and I watched the Ben Askren card, and we'll talk about that in a minute. What I found most interesting about this, he's getting Rocky smart. Am I wrong about this, Miguel? Was he getting Rocky smart? Like, right? He's not, right? For those of you who don't know, there are legitimate Evander Holyfield clips from a few months ago where he was dumb as a rock and mumbling to barely, like, we didn't want him to fight because he didn't say that. I watched vignettes last night with Evander Holyfield. He was clear and concise and was rather interesting and engaging. I found myself surprised on the topic. So I'll start this time with you, Miguel, because you'll have insight on it. Evander Holyfield, Kevin McBride, which nobody's really clamoring for. And secondly, am I wrong in my assessment? Is Holyfield getting Rocky Balboa smart?
No. That's pretty accurate. I mean, like, listening to him talk now, you're thinking, like, what the fuck? What the hell happened? Who knocked him, straight? I guess. Because I mean, a couple years ago, just listening to him talk, you're like, damn, dude. Like, it seems like he was having a hard time coming up with the words he was looking for. I mean, all those shots to the head, of course. Dude's had a long career, and then like magically, it's like, okay, now he doesn't sound, like he's like unintelligible. It's just garbled, mumbled stuff. It's like, damn, this dude is actually making sense. What the hell happened? But yeah, in regards to this Kevin McBride fight, I mean, whatever. It's another one of these damn exhibitions. It's going to be on the undercard of Lopez Camboso. So it's like they're trying to do this, old school WCW formula where it's like big name stars or ex big name stars kind of like still there, and then an actual fight somewhere on the card. So it's this how they're doing it with this. We're all interested in Lopez and Cambosos, right? That's the one that we want to see, but we're going to get a little bit of I guess big name attraction with Evander Holyfield. They a couple of times they coined Kevin McBride as the Mike Tyson conqueror, and they even went as far as like tagging him. Yeah, tagging Mike Tyson on one of these Instagram posts, like they're just trying to rub it in, like, yeah, fool, this could have been you, but you ducked out or whatever the hell their excuse is. Yeah, whatever. It's another one of these damn exhibition fights. If you guys have seen Evander Holyfield, that dude looks in crazy ass shape. That dude's always been in shape. He was a very modern boxer back in the day, even. So I'm not interested. I'm interested more in the Lopez Cambosos. Whatever. We get to see Evander in the ring one more time.
Yes. Then I go to you, Andrew. Are you interested in McBride versus Holyfield?
I'm only interested now because you guys just informed me that it's the co-main to Lopez Cambosos. It's a decent barbecue fight. You got some friends, family over. Hey, Holyfield's back. It's a big name. Look, the guys they got to be happy about this are Lopez, Cambosos, and even last night with the Prograis as the main event. I liked how Triller, and I know I'm jumping around. I'm just throwing a shot in here, and you guys will take it on later. But I like how they paid Regis Prograis the most last night on the card. That was a positive that Triller at least knows where they're putting their money at. So will it work? It only works, you guys, because I know when the news dropped, I wasn't a big fan of this. Miguel, you know it. Me and you went back and forth with it. It only works because it's an undercard to a decent fight, a fighter in Lopez that's he's a rising star in boxing. He's already getting some attraction. Now you throw Holyfield, McBride in there. It's a good thing. It's a good sell. This pay-per-view to me will work.
Cool. Moving forward. The return nobody wanted. Marcos Maidana hints at a possible return. I don't even need to read the story because really, does anybody care that Chino's actually making a return to the ring? I start with you this time, Andrew Labouche. Were you clamoring for a Chino return?
No. There was been hints of this Maidana returning for a while now. They always seem to come and go. As soon as it with like a lot of these aging fighters, injuries start popping up in the gym when they start really training hard to see how many rounds they can actually go. They find out they can't go half a fight, and then it all comes to an end. So that's sort of the boat Maidana's been in in his after boxing career, I guess you would say, about hinting about coming back. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. What I do think is this Parra guy, isn't he from Argentina too? Can we scroll down on the story? Because if he is, I believe it's a big
Venezuela.
Well, I heard some things about it being a big fight with the guy they were setting him up with. I don't know if it's still this Parra guy, but maybe it's a money grab for them down there. I don't, who knows? But no, it won't make a ripple up here in America.
Miguel Antonio Barragan.
To touch on what Andrew was saying, this has been hinted on like for at least a couple of years now, honestly. Like I've seen a couple of posts on Instagram, even Twitter, with like side by sides of him, during his quote unquote retired life and then his comeback, and he looks in much better shape, yada yada. It's almost like the second this dude jumps on the fucking treadmill, it's like, oh, is he coming back? It's been hinted on and has been like a dick tease for I don't know how long already. I'm just like, okay, is it gonna happen or not gonna happen? I wouldn't mind seeing it because he isn't as old as the Holyfields and the Tysons. He's still in his late 30s, so he still has it. Well, to some extent, I should say. He's at an age where he's still capable of doing it, so it may actually lead to something. If you remember, what's his name? George Foreman came back in his 40s, for Christ's sake, and he's not there yet. Maidana, I mean. So I don't know how much of an impact that's going to do here in the U.S. unless he fights, somebody here in the U.S. or somewhat of a name here in the U.S. But I mean, no, I think it's just more for his own satisfaction or his own ego. It's like, all right, I can still do it, so let me just go ahead and get in there and still do it.
For you of those listening, yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh. There was a weird echo. For those of you joining the show for the very first time going, God, that sounded like deep boxing insight. That's not how I thought that last story would go when I picked that story, and sadly, I'm highly disappointed. Moving forward, let's try again. White not against the scenario of facing Francis Ngannou for the UFC title. You'll see. For those of you who don't know, living under a rock, it got floated around that Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champion, has been toying with the fact of fighting Dillian Whyte, which would probably be Dillian Whyte's biggest payday and the only possibility of him getting real viewers and or getting respect from Eddie Hearn. If you did not know this or you're new to this show, Dillian Whyte is perpetually the WBC bitch belt wearer. What do I mean by that? That means that the bitch ain't ever going to get a title shot no matter how many WBC interims he gets. I start with you this time, Miguel Antonio Barragan. Ngannou versus Dillian Whyte.
Not going to happen. Sorry for White, but no, this is definitely not going to happen. I don't see, Dana White even allowing this, with his brand spanking new heavyweight champ that now that people, if this Ngannou just defeated Stipe, in the rematch of their first fight, and everybody in that fight, what happened was what everybody expected to happen in that first fight. He basically knocks Stipe into next week. So, he's the next big thing. He's the heavyweight champ of the UFC, and, he's got power, yada, yada, yada. I don't think Dana White is eager to, put him at serious risk in the fucking fight with White, at least not in regards to a boxing fight. We definitely don't want to see, because let's be real here. As much power as Ngannou has, he's sloppy as fuck. He's going to get picked apart. He might even get knocked the fuck out by White. Let's be real here, in an actual boxing fight. So I don't think Dana's going to even allow that shit to happen. I don't think so. So, keep dreaming, White. I wish you luck, but it's not going to happen.
See what the twist in this story, though, you guys, is I believe they're doing a crossover. They want to do a crossover fight. They want
that's right. A one-on-one, right? Yeah.
A 1-on-1, yes, and that right there, I don't know why Dana White would avoid something like that. That's huge money. Obviously, you do the boxing one first, right? Make as much money as you can on that. Sell that ticket. We already know how it's going to play out, but sell it. Then that Octagon showdown. I mean, this is huge, especially if Dillian White has a knockout in the boxing ring, looked good. How do you say the UFC fighter's name?
Ngannou.
Hey, say hi. I thought you were gonna be quiet. You can't talk. Ngannou. If he knocks him out, it makes huge money in the Octagon on the replay. So, Dana White at some point, like I've always said, I wish the conversation would go away unless it's the boxer going to the Octagon. Mm-hmm. Another twist that I think is in here, Dillian White was a kickboxer. Is that what I heard Eddie Hearn? Did any of you guys hear Eddie Hearn say this over the last week?
Yeah. And he's had I think 1 or 2 MMA bouts. I mean, he's fought lower competition dudes, but he's even had some mild success in MMA as well.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a very doable fight. I don't know why they wouldn't. Dillian White, yes, he's not a title holder, but he makes millions of dollars. That's something all the UFC fighters want to make too. So why wouldn't you come together and make a few million on this? It's definitely a 2-fight deal. Eddie Hearn wants it. Dillian White wants it. I don't know why the UFC would avoid this.
Well, would we do a UFC fight first? And I asked this because a while ago, back in the olden times, the UFC was barely coming up, really becoming mainstream in 2005-ish, 2006-ish. And in the early 2000s, they actually did kind of a fighter exchange with their closest competitor at the time, Pride Fighting Championships, which was in Japan. They sent fighters over there, and for some fucked up reason, the Japanese didn't keep their end of the bargain, and they never brought dudes over here. So they've been pretty jaded about doing work with other organizations like that. If this fight were to take place, would we see the UFC bout first and then the boxing fight?
Well,
just to make sure they don't get their, fucked up.
I would hope not, because the big question about this matchup, boxing and MMA, has always been the boxer going to the MMA octagon. So you don't want to bust your load too fast, right? You want to make some money on this thing. And for me, you do boxing first. You're going to have everyone's going to buy in because they know the second fight's still coming, but they want to see how good Ngannou does against Wyatt. It just stand up. Boom, say he loses, right? Boom, he loses. You know how many of these UFC guys are going to fucking double down on that octagon fight? Can you imagine the betting? Hey, double or nothing is all you're going to hear after that boxing match. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be insane. The gambling, the promotion of this is going to be a huge event. The day you can get a legit contender in the boxing world step into the fucking octagon, we're finally going to see it. No, it's going to be huge. And Dillian White, he has that name because he's a global star, right? He's a heavyweight contender. He's known in America. He's known in the UK, in the boxing world. And let's be legit, in the boxing world, if you can generate a big fight, you're going to get close to 1 million buys in America. That it's proven we can do that still in boxing. Before it was a lot more, but at least we can still do 1 million. I think Dillian White in this situation has a chance to make some money here in America. I know for a fact that's why Eddie Hearn wants to do it. Everything seems right. He's got MMA experience. He's not just a boxer. He's a well-known name in a division that's kind of held up right now on the 2 champions. I don't know why the UFC wouldn't look at this fight.
There you go. Moving forward. That takes us to the Four Kings documentary to debut on Showtime on June 6th. For those of you living under a rock, it's been hinted at for quite some time. The Kings, a 4-part series chronicling the 4 fighters' dramatic divergence and ascent to greatness, which will be...
Lee?
Oh, Lee, we lost you.
Did
There
you?
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I didn't go anywhere. Roberto Duran, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Thomas the Hitman Hearns, and Sugar Ray Leonard. It's been hinted, it's been talked about. It's got documentary and interviews with everybody. It's a thing that's been talked about for a period of time, apparently, this particular documentary. So I'll start with you this time, Andrew. Are you geeked up to finally see the 4 Kings?
Yeah, even though, listen, this story's been played a lot in the boxing world. This isn't the first documentary on the 4 Kings, the 4 Horsemen, the greatest era ever. I mean, there's so many titles to these guys' career. I'm excited, yes. I'm not going to say I'm not, but how much more are they going to show us that we haven't already seen?
That we haven't seen on Legendary Nights or anything else that has every other interview that ever existed? That's kind of the question, right? So the thing that I thought of was, is this a blatant exploitation film of, 3 washed up fighters and 1 being dead, in fact, now 2. Miguel?
Yeah, go ahead, Miguel.
Oh, sorry, Lee, you're kind of cutting it in out there. I mean, it's I'm all down for documentaries because I love watching. I do totally geek out on these, and I go on these binges where I just watch them frequently. But I don't really. What else hasn't what hasn't already been said about the time period, unless we get any sort of extra tidbits of information between any one of these fighters. By this point, their memory of that time period is faded hella, so it's not like we're going to get any new information, really, let's be honest. So I mean, I would be intrigued. I mean, how is it, like a multiple episode series or something like that? I think it's just one.
Yeah, it's a series. It's
a series. Okay, so I think I'm gonna give the first episode a shot just to see if there's any new information or any like cool ass little stories they include. If there isn't, then I'm probably gonna skip on the other 3.
Calculator said it is because these 4 men defined the boxing era. Battles that we made a lot of money on. Why, I'm trying to suck the marrow out of a dead man by releasing the film. How do you feel?
How do I feel about what, Lee? Lee's breaking up really bad.
Am I breaking up really bad? Because I have a clean connection. No idea.
Oh. Let me text him real quick. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you. What?
Yeah, I don't know, it just sounds like something's like tapping up against your mic, like your shirt or something.
Okay. I have no idea why that is. Let me adjust. Or I can switch microphones, but it'll be shitty from here on out.
No, I think this is good. Yeah, I think we fixed it.
Did we? All right,
yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. Let's move forward. Smith Vlasov. Joe Smith Vlasov. Andrew's favorite stories to talk about. The fight averaged 506,000 viewers and peaked at 541. Andrew, your favorite kind of story. Are you surprised that 500,000 people gave 2 rat shits about Joe Smith?
Nope. Now, Joe Smith, yes, of course I did. I'm on a story right now. I just got sent. Did anybody hear about the Oscar De La Hoya interview that was live on last night's show?
Yes.
Yes, we watched it.
Yes, we watched it all. Do you want to talk about him right now? Because I can get Oscar.
I'm just replying to.
I have all new Oscar material from last night.
You were watching a show with Snoop Dogg as the commentator.
Mario, tell him about the time at my house. Mario, tell him, Mario. Hey, Steve, I think you're fucked up. Mario, listen to me, Mario.
Dude, Mario was trying to like cover his fucking mic for Christ's sake or something. It was stupid.
Mario, I love boxing, Mario. I want to just get in there, and you got to put it all out there, brother. Like, they just got to bang. They just got to bang. Mario, tell him. And I swear to you, Mario Lopez is like, yeah, Oscar gets like this during every fight. You mean fucked up? Because he was fucked up. Not slightly, high as a kite and drunk. Mario, tell him, Mario.
We've seen a promoter do that. Not the first time.
Oh my God, I'm embarrassed for him last night. I mean, seriously, since we're not going to get to talk about it, go ahead and talk about your article, because we'll actually cover the fights later on when you're done, Andrew. Mario, tell him about the fight, Mario. And I got to lay this out for you, Andrew, because you didn't watch it. So it's Mario Lopez way down on one end. It's Oscar De La Hoya. It's a way high Al Bernstein. And then some dude named Grimeface or Crimeface per Miguel Antonio Barragan, who was watching far closer than me, who all I kept thinking was, how do I get a fight with that fucker on the end? So Snoop comes over before this Steve Cunningham fight, and they all get fucked up, and we find out that Al Bernstein has never had pot in his life. Everybody's got a bottle of vodka sitting next to him. I have now set the stage appropriately for what follows. Cunningham versus Frank Mir happens, and Oscar loses his shit on the air. He takes over. He's louder than Grimeface. Let's just call him Grimeface because it's funnier.
Okay.
Grimeface is usually the loud, sort of the boxing kind of thing. Now I understand why people like the boxing show. And by the way, go listen to their show if that's your thing. But all four guys, excluding Al Bernstein, who is now high and quiet with his arms folded and just smiling like this all night. Everybody's talking over everybody, with Mario Lopez trying to hold his shit together because I'm convinced he's the only one who's, one, not high, and two, not drinking, and he's trying to keep this like it's a real job. The rest of these people are out of their fucking minds. And it's hilarious when Snoop reappears just before the fight, and now Snoop's at the table going, I love it, baby. I love it. And Oscar's getting more fucked up by the minute, and he is doing the commentary to the fight, which is a scream. He talks about his next fight. Oh, you'll find out. I'm the real deal. Tell him, Mario. Tell him. The Mario thing was so hilarious that, like, he breaks in between this white Spanglish thing to being perfect pronunciation Spanish all on the fly, which to me, I just could not even believe. Did I express it appropriately, Miguel?
You absolutely did. If you can picture this, we got fucking Ray Flores, one of the PBC ring announcers.
Ray Flores,
right?
yeah,
Then we have Oscar, and then we have Snoop, and then we have Al Bernstein, and then we have Pete Davidson, that comedian, and then this fat.
Yeah, Pete Davidson showed up too.
And then fucking, this fat dude, this grime face dude, right? Everybody half high. Pete Davidson, what appears to be rolling a blunt while they're recording him talking about something else. Holy shit, what a clusterfuck, like, dumpster fire of a commentating team that was. And if you see Al Bernstein's face, this dude is like, who the hell convinced me to do this bullshit? It was the funniest fucking thing ever.
All right, Andrew, now whip out your story.
What story?
About Oscar.
I just told you. I just started that whole thing. Moving on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we could cover it. Let's get back to real boxing. Enos Lipschitz averaged 187,000 viewers, said Steven Espinosa. Well, that's 180,000 more people than I expected. That's a good joke. And I wrote that on the fly, people. That's a great joke. That is Saturday Night Live caliber joke. I start with you, Andrew Labouche. You are not one of the 187,000 who watched this fight. Are you not shocked, or are you shocked that they actually got 187 and they're lying?
No, I'm definitely shocked. I would like to know what was playing before this happened, and see if they just had some people that just fell asleep with Showtime on.
Naked pictures of the girl from who's the one that had the naked pictures that was in the What's her name? The female actress. She was Cadmus Catberry or whatever the hell her name was, and her photos leaked all over the internet. Why can't I think of her name? It's killing me.
She's an actress? Like
yeah,
a legit actress?
Yeah, legit actress. Her nude photos showed up everywhere on the internet. She was in the Hunger Games.
Like the star? Like the main character?
She.
I don't know
her
name, but I watched that.
Oh, yeah, I see her. I know her face.
Okay, so she actually had a huge leak of her cloud photos, which I, downloaded to look at. And yes, she's very hot and she's very cool to her boyfriends. And the reason I tell you all that is I can only assume that they were showing those photos before this fight to get 187,000 people that peaked at 206,000 before this fight, or Clarissa Shields jacking off with a dildo, one or the other. Miguel, how do you feel? Are you surprised it was that many? Do you think Mr. Espinosa is once again lying?
I mean, I am a little surprised, honestly. I mean, I don't remember the card. I mean, besides the main event, having any real star power. I mean, really, no one else. I mean, it was a legit fight. I mean, I enjoyed the fight myself. I was one of the ones that tuned in through my Hulu. Shout out to Hulu, thank you. I mean, yeah, I am kind of surprised that there was this many viewers. The card wasn't scintillating, to steal a word from Max Kellerman. It wasn't exactly lighting me on fire by any stretch. I enjoyed the fight, of course, but I am kind of surprised that this many people tuned in. I'm not sure where the hell they got those numbers from.
There you go. Moving forward, our favorite female boxer to talk about. Hey!
Oh, yes.
Clarissa Shields is making her PFL debut. For those of you who don't know, that's MMA, kickboxing, and a whole other bunch of other things. She is going to fight in PFL. Later in the week, they announced an opponent you've never heard of with PFL on June 10th, probably making the most money she's made in any fight, be it MMA, kickboxing, or boxing ever, fighting for the PFL. Miguel, we'll start with you as our MMA analyst as well. Clarissa is official. Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised. I've heard that this was going to be the case for some time now. I mean, I knew that there was interest on her part to try to make some more money. Another way, of course, because this even though she's one of the most decorated boxers, Olympic, yada yada yada, she's not really getting paid, as she says. So she decided to make the transition over to MMA, and specifically with the PFL. They're not exactly throwing her in the deep end by any stretch as far as like her opponents goes. Her opponent's record is 3-6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
right.
She isn't exactly fighting. I mean, again, understandably so. This is her first mixed martial arts fight. I've seen some clips of her throwing kicks. If you guys haven't seen her lower body, this girl's pretty fucking thick. I'm talking about Clarissa Shields, so she can put some weight behind those kicks. Hey, Clarissa. She can put some weight behind those kicks. So I mean, I haven't seen her grapple, so I'm not sure how well along her grappling is coming along. The fighter that she's fighting is a very, very good grappler, actually. She even competes in grappling tournaments and whatnot outside of her professional mixed martial arts career. So understandably so, her opponent's going to want to take her to the ground. I don't know how well or how good Shields' takedown defense is, but she's going to pick her apart on the feet, of course, especially if she can throw those kicks as heavy as I've seen on some of the clips. But I mean, she's going to fight somebody. It's going to be her first time in there. It's I don't know. I'm interested. I'm not gonna lie. I am interested to see how this is gonna turn out, because maybe this could be something for Shields and she'll get paid a lot more than she's been getting paid over here in boxing. But I mean, I want to see how she struggles on the ground. I want to see her get taken down and see if she can get back up, or if she can defend herself on the ground. That's kind of one of the, obviously, what we're talking about earlier, seeing a mixed martial artist jump into the MMA fold. I don't know how far she'll get, because it's happened. There's another a local here in Las Vegas, Ava Knight. She's fought in Bellator, and she had a little bit of success, a couple of wins, and then she got choked. So it happens. I want to see these fighters do the crossovers. This is actually going to happen. But as we mentioned earlier with Andrew, jumping into the MMA cage, I want to see how well they do there. And Clarissa is one of the ones that's actually taking the dive.
Andrew Labouche.
She's not the first one. We've already had the big crossover fight with the women. It was Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holmes, and Holly Holmes beat her ass, retired her, sent her to the WWE. It already happened. Clarissa will do the same. She'll come in here. She'll have big wins. She'll have some losses. You can't win them all. They're immediately going to try to take her down and, keep her on the floor. So it's, we'll see what happens. She's just got to stay on her feet. She got to watch a bunch of tapes on Chuck Liddell. I used to love Chuck Liddell. And I know he had a wrestling history, so it's going to be hard, but he used to just get up. Chuck, he didn't give a fuck. He'd get to his knees, get to both feet, and get out.
Yeah. He'd take shots on the way up. He didn't care.
Yeah, he was very funny. Made it seem like it was nothing to get up. I know that's a lie because he was big in wrestling. So
he's a D1 wrestler, right?
Yeah, was it San Luis Obispo, right? Isn't
Cal Poly Slow, great wrestling team.
So yeah, man, fucking she just got to watch tapes on how to try to stay on her feet, and she's gonna do just fine. You know, it'll be a fucking joke if they stay on their feet longer than a few fucking seconds with Clarissa Shields. So that's the name of the game when you're fighting in the octagon. But she's an athlete in her prime. So, you know, yes, it's hard to learn a different style of fighting, but it's not impossible, especially when you're an athlete. And really, she needs to learn defense techniques. It's not like she's trying to learn the whole damn thing. She needs to learn how to stay on her feet, how to, what do you call it, sprawl, correct?
Yeah,
when you
sprawl.
shot on.
Yeah.
And then how to not take the bait of staying there when you get mount position. Get the fuck up and move out. You know. Things like that, because that happens sometimes with these stand-up fighters. They get that mount, they think they have the upper advantage, and now they're in some kind of lock, and the fight's still over. Get up, jab, right hand, stay on your feet, you'll be fine.
Now, for those of you that are new to the show and come along this far and went, well, it's kind of wacky, a little out there, I don't see what you're talking about, where this separates from other shows. This is where we separate the chip from the chaff, as they say. For additional reference in regards to this fight, I recommend Googling Saturday Night Live's She's Got a Dick. Thank you. That was a good joke, too, because I watched the video today. Vaslov's handler filed protest over loss to Joe Smith, complaining of the officials, drug testing, and God knows everything else. The handlers of Maxim Vlasov have filed a protest with the World Boxing Organization over the officiating from last week's fight. This was a very hard-fought, competitive fight, Vlasov said in the aftermath. I thought I was winning rounds as well as ahead against an aggressive style of Joe Smith. I came forward the entire fight tight. I felt confident I was winning and was securing rounds and banking with the judge. I never felt that I was behind in any stage. We filed a protest against the WBO. We do not agree with the decision. Blah, blah, blah. We consider the officiating biased. Really? You think? We believe the qualifications of the judges do not correspond to the level of the fight. Why don't we ask Bob Arum?
What? They were great. I found them myself from the retirement home.
We do not think the outcome will be voided, but we're insisting on the rematch being kicked in. I start with you, Andrew Labouche. Why is he being a bitch?
You know, well, he had the whole internet world saying he won the fight, so, he's running with it. Why not? And then get him a bigger paycheck for his next one. I still don't think he won the fight. I thought he lost the last 2 rounds in the guy's hometown or home country, however you want to say it. You usually don't take that victory back overseas with you. He if it was a 10-round fight, he would have won it. It was a 12-round fight, and that's what decided the fight for me was the last 2 rounds. Especially when I hella thought they took a point away from Joe Smith on that knockdown. That was not what do you call it, Lee? It was accidental, more on the part
it was tripping.
Of the fighter.
Unintentional.
It was a trip.
Yeah, unintentional. There you go. The fighter put his head down. The punch was thrown. Sometimes it is what it is. You can't fault a guy for things that happen like that. So that.
But that's why we have instant replay, and I can see that being an issue for sure. That's why they put instant replay into fights for that moment, and he didn't go to it.
Yeah, no, he didn't. And it might have looked like, well, I guess I don't know how they call it. Maybe you guys know, on an unintentional foul, is it still a point? Who knows? Or do you grant them a point for a knockdown? It's a tough call, but Vasilov was tired at that moment. He went down like he was losing that round. The point should have been it should have been a 10-8 round. Like, that was a big swing right there when the ref called that a knockdown. So I had Joe Smith, and then in the 12th round, he clearly wins. And so I was like, Joe Smith won this fight, especially it's in America. Come on. And
Absolutely.
yeah, the blue collar guy. He has a whole boxing, team behind him. Like, yeah,
He's our Furo Gotti of this era. Get it right.
Very could well be. No, you're onto something there, Lee. You're on. He's one win away because they have the resume. You've seen it being played out that night. This is the blue collar, come from behind type dude, everyday man, right? He goes to work, all that shit. Been playing that card out. He's one big win away, and it could be better be that win that's going to put him there. And then you might see Canelo looking to fight Joe Smith.
Miguel Antonio, whatever. So, Juan, tell us more about why Joe Smith is great.
Well, I just wanted to. I figured this protest.
I know
was
you're actually searching for the joke of how racist I make Bob there. I'm not that racist, people. We've talked about this off the air. Trust me. Oh my God.
Well, yeah. I mean, we know that Vlasov's trying to get a second fight. I did rewatch the fight. It did look like the last couple of rounds that Smith pulled it off. And again, we were talking about fighting here in the U.S., so we're going to give the benefit of the doubt to Smith Jr. I mean, it's going to give, a rematch is going to give ESPN another opportunity to tell us how many stops his wife had to make before she got to the fucking U.S. one more time. And then he gets himself another shot of the title, and he gets the chance to be the monkey wrench in a potential, I guess screwing up the Smith Jr. and Better be a fight down the line if he can get a win. He wasn't entirely out in this fight. It wasn't like he got it wasn't like Smith Jr. mopped the floor with him by any stretch, but it was obvious that he did take a lot of punches, and that great equalizer that Joe Smith Jr. has, that power. These guys fight again. I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Smith actually knocks Vlasov out in the rematch. But it's understandable. Vlasov feels like he got gypped. He's fighting in a different country, and he's fighting for a championship, and he's going to feel like he got gypped. So he's going to want to give himself a rematch, another payday, and possibly interrupt or disrupt the future plans of Joe Smith Jr. and Bitterbiev.
Oh, breaking news! We have another Fury Joshua update. Frank Warren, co-promoter of WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury, said last week he doubts a unification with unified champion Anthony Joshua will happen before a date in July. Andrew, how do you feel about this update?
No
update from Andrew. I don't know. Miguel?
Yes.
How do you feel about this update?
Well, it's just another dick tease, man. It's just another dick tease. How many updates on updates have we had already?
Don't worry, I've got 3 more.
Oh, yes. See what I'm saying? It's like, can we just I understand they're trying to keep this. I mean, it doesn't need much to keep this story on, the top, bring this paper to the top of the stack, so to speak. We all know this is the fight that is going to be made this year, and everybody is like clamoring for it. We're all, we all got hard-ons for this fight. We want it to happen already, and they're trying to be like, all right, guys, we're almost there. And it's like, okay, can you just tell us when the fuck you're there and quit dick teasing us over and over? It's just literally another useless, irrelevant, quote-unquote update, because really it's like not really much of an update to begin with. It's just like, we're going to give the last update an update and let you guys know that we almost got the fight done. Like, okay, well, that's nothing different from the last 20 updates.
Hold on. Breaking news. Fury Joshua approved. Side offer for first bout, says Hearn. One day later, Eddie Hearn, promoter for Anthony Joshua, says, hey, we've got a venue, but we're not ready to announce where it is, but we have one. Andrew Labouche, in your dying minutes of this show, are you excited to know that there is a venue and that it'll happen sometime this summer or this year in some kind of venue?
Yeah, they're getting closer to announcing. Hey, listen, they're dragging it out, but at least they're not doing a Pacquiao Mayweather drag out, right? Every time they release a news, it's just to promote the fight. It's just to keep us talking about it. Then when they finally announce when the tickets will be released, they might be the hottest things in the sports world. So that's what they're doing here. You got
Andrew, I don't mean to interrupt you. Breaking news. Joshua with deadline threats and vows to kick Fury back. Andrew, I go back to you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just this past Saturday, Anthony Joshua is not scared.
Yeah, they've been, Tyson Fury's been doing this a lot. It's really only been Tyson Fury that's been saying he's going to pull out of the fight, which I don't know what it all means. But I believe this fight is going to happen. It's just a matter of time.
Andrew, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Joshua, we've sent Fury a good offer. Now he better take it, damn it. This time I turn to you, Miguel Antonio Barragan. Literally within a few hours of the last post, the IBF, WBO, WBA, IBO, and a few other letter champion, Anthony Joshua said, we've sent him an offer. We're not saying what the offer is, and I'm sure he won't refuse it, for a venue that we really won't name sometime this year. How do you feel about that?
I mean, okay, I guess. I mean, what is the next? What's the next update like? They've agreed on the gloves they're gonna wear. They've agreed on the size of the ring that it's gonna. They've agreed who comes out first and who's gonna be on the left of the poster, on the right of the poster. Like, oh Jesus fuck! All right, we get it. We want to hear the fight happen already. God damn it.
Andrew, before I let you go, how great is this? I mean, seriously, is this not just something for me, like the greatest thing boxing can give me?
You guys, Miguel's right on all of those titles. Those are all going to be coming up in the next few months, especially who gets what side of the poster, whose face is bigger.
Come up with a name for the fight. Breaking news.
Yeah, you got to remember, they've never seen a fight of this magnitude over there. This is their Ali versus Frazier right here. So this fight, yeah, it's going to bring all those titles that all the ones in America used to bring, and we kind of got just exhausted with having to cover it all. The UK is doubling down on this one. They've never had a moment like this.
All right, before we let you go, Andrew, because I know you have to go, you told me to cut you off at 45 minutes, and we're gonna cover all the BS boxing that actually had this weekend real quickly, because I know you watched it, and we all three watched it. Demetrius Andrade took on Liam Williams in what I can only describe as a brutal execution yesterday afternoon. Andrew, did you get a chance to rewatch it?
Yes, I did. And, now that I know Demetrius Andrade is 33 years old, I don't think he's deserved the right to change his last name without doing it legally. So we should go back to calling him Andrade because he's a nobody. He's going to continue.
Andrade is a nobody.
Did
they hype this up before the fight? Like you were getting ready to watch a one-sided beatdown that you couldn't even believe was going to happen. And it turned into this thing, and Miguel and I were texting. He's like, he ran out of gas. I'm like, that's your takeaway? My takeaway is, why did we hype this guy up as the middleweight champion for so long?
Hey, look, this is a man who's bounced around all over boxing promotions during his career. Came out with the weird argument about his last name to HBO. Jim Lampley used to joke, I think, every time they showed him on HBO after that. It's a nowhere road. Demetrius, he's going to get one shot. He's going to get one check, and then he's not going to be heard of again, at least for the casuals. That'll be it for
He lost rounds to a blown-up welterweight. I mean, I don't want to... Listen, he lost rounds.
He lost rounds to a blown-up welterweight. He lacks defense big time. They kept talking about his angles and his boxing IQ, and while I agree with it on the offensive side, he has nothing on the defense. He was literally both hands down, and he would stay in the pocket and not even move his head. Just take shots right off the chin. You can't do that with the big guys. Yeah, that might work at your 30-0. You're fighting all these guys, has-beens, nobodies, people to make your record look better. That's all fine and dandy. When you get to the big guys, you can't stay inside the pocket, hands down, and not move your head, take shots right off the chin. It's not there. There's reasons why he's been let go of the promotional side. One, probably a hard person to work with. Look at his last name issue. And two, the skills just aren't there. Who's going to invest? Listen, sometimes to get these guys into the big fights, you got to invest a few $1 million, right? You got to put it on the line. Maybe they win, maybe they don't. But if they do, you're going to become a millionaire with them. Nobody's invested in that with Demetrius Andrade, and it's because the skills aren't there probably in the sparring. Look, they wanted to act like he was untouchable. I seen him hurt last night. In one of their highlights of his uppercuts, he takes a counter right hand that rocks him. So he's been hurt. He's been dropped. He's not that exciting. He's hard to work with. Yeah, I don't know what the future holds for Demetrius. He better be lucky that, you know, boxing is where it is, and eventually one day he will get a paycheck to fight someone.
That would be a hot take from Andrew as he drops the mic and leaves the show. Follow him at fight.net.radio. He has an event with his family, which is way more important than everybody else. Andrew, love to you and the family. Prayers as always. Get the hell out of here. He just bounced off.
All right.
He dropped the mic.
He did. Well. He literally dropped the mic. All right.
He literally dropped the mic. Miguel Antonio Barragan. Boo boo. What the hell was Eddie Burns thinking by signing boo boo?
I mean, I thought it was just another, like, him getting a slice of the middleweight pie, basically. You know, and just to add another wrinkle to the story, you know, there's a female mixed martial artist who is Brazilian, and has the same last name and is pronounced Andrade. So I'm gonna start calling him that now. Fuck that. I'm gonna add a third pronunciation.
I think with Brazilian you drop the R, so it's Andrade.
Yeah. We'll go with that because that's how it's gonna be. So we're gonna throw another pronunciation and purposely pronounce his last name wrong from here on out. But I mean, I don't know. It's even the nickname Boo Boo. Like, you know, fuck, people are scared to see him. He's a boogeyman. They try to make him seem. Dude, he got stunned. He got stunned by a dude who's like, he should have gotten out. He dropped Williams. He should have taken him out, and he couldn't. And you know, and he
right
couldn't. It's like, what the fuck, dude? You had the chance to take him out, and then he paid for it later on because he started running out of gas. You can tell his legs were like shot. He was having a hard time backing away. He was clinching a whole bunch, and you know, Williams, not exactly the sharpest fighter. He seemed to just like naturally engage in the clinches. It's like, dude, punch away. You know, throw him, get him off you. He's probably in better condition than Anad. We'll call him that. And you know, it looked like he was basically on his last legs, and it was just I was honestly expecting Demetrius to take him out early, and when he dropped him, I said, okay, this is going to be a quick fight, and it didn't happen that way. I was like, all right, well, now we're going to have Williams make the comeback, and you know, I don't know, I don't see him. The fact that he has a belt is going to give him a little bit of leverage and potentially getting that one major fight that Andrew was talking about. So yes, I think he's going to get to that point. But I mean, with fights like these, dude, with like, I guess, performances like these, I don't think people are even going to be interested in deciding to fight him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm glad I watched it in Spanish, actually. Yeah. That's the only good thing I can say, that for whatever reason, VIPRow.net, by the way, not a sponsor of the show and should be. Yeah, they had the Spanish telecast up, and I was thinking, you know, at least I can listen to music. And it was fun listening to them because they have to fill so much, which brought me so much joy with for those of you who don't know, I kind of know Spanish. I just don't speak it intentionally because I sound, what's the word, white? Is that the correct word? White.
I'm pretty sure that's the accurate word, yeah.
I think that's the accurate word. But I can understand it to a certain level. So it was fun to listen to them. They're actually as shitty as the other guys.
How did they pronounce his last name? Did you hear that?
Andre.
That's a good one. Andre.
And that's what they kept saying. Or boo-boo. My favorite was boo-boo. So they gave up on the Andre part and just went to boo-boo. So you heard a lot of calls for boo-boo during the fight, which was... And I was kind of packing up the studio while I watched the fight because it's definitely... I don't need to keep both eyes on this horse shit. Mm-hmm. Once he got past the first round, he looks very nothing. I mean, that's really the truth. I mean, it was just this long slogging fight that just bothered me to no end.
Yeah, and he's been calling out like Triple G for a while now. It's like, dude,
oh
Triple G lands one of the shots on you, and you're going down. You know, Williams like caught him with a straight right. I think it was a right that sent him to the ropes, like damn near through the freaking ropes, dude.
Kill him. Old Triple G would kill him. Current Triple G would kill him.
I mean,
No doubt.
this dude, he's not a knockout puncher. I'm talking about Demetrius. He can hit hard, sure, but he doesn't have that knockout power. And I'm sure even old Triple G can take those shots and, dish out his own. It's going to be Triple G basically, marching him down and following him around the ring. It's a bad idea. I mean, again, he's got some leverage because he has that belt. But I mean, come on. Now, when it comes to the big names in the division, it's a bad idea.
Como se dice boo-boo? That's really funny for those of you who don't speak Spanish. That's my international joke of the day. Bam, 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 bam. All right, a fight that only Miguel probably watched. Tony Harrison, Bryant Perella went to a draw. I can only assume that this was a shit show. I did not even give it an attempt to watch because, truthfully, I had everything. I had 2 other fights on. By that time, they had already started the fucking fiasco in New Orleans, and I was watching the UFC, which was, we'll talk about it at the very end of the show. Very entertaining. By and large, I found the UFC Fight Night card one of the more entertaining fights of the evening. So did you get a chance to put this on one of your multiple viewers?
I did, yes. I actually, so I got Dish Latino. That's my cable package. So I have ESPN Deportes, and that's what I caught it on. So I DVR'd Deportes. I caught it right with the Spanish commentators on PBC on Fox. En Vivo, that's what they call it, live. That's
En Vivo.
So I did manage to catch the card on DVR. I DVR'd it.
Boo-boo.
Well, yeah. Thankfully, or not thankfully, I'm not sure what the hell's going on with Dish, but when you DVR something and it happens to go over the time slot, it stops recording.
It doesn't continue, right?
So,
you got to record the show behind it. Yeah.
So
right.
I got everything, pretty much. I think literally like a few seconds before the 12th round ended.
Was it a good fight? I mean, did the PBC have anything to show for this? I mean, they got primetime Fox, right? They had it on the Business Channel. They had it on Fox Sports 1. They had it on Main Fox. They were all the Fox on Saturday trying to make me believe that they're, what do they call it, the Sphere at the Shrine Auditorium, where I actually saw something with my daughter, I think a musical. What did you think of what you saw out of Tony Harrison?
It really was not a bad fight. It wasn't. It was actually pretty good. There were a couple of times where, Harrison was stunned. It seemed like he kind of lost his footing for a little bit. When I saw who he was fighting, Brian Perel, I was like, oh shit, this is a dude who got knocked out like last second back in February of last year. Like he was fighting, correct. and then I think it was Abel Ramos knocked him out like literally with 2 seconds left. Like in the fight, I was like, oh, that's the guy he's fighting. So immediately I thought, you know what, Tony Harrison's got this. He's a former champion, former title holder. The biggest win of his career over Jermell Charlo. I thought, okay, Harrison's got this. But Perella came to fight, dude. He came to throw down. He didn't come to just pick up a paycheck. He came in great shape. He did take an ass whooping because his face, showed the effects after the fight. But it was actually quite entertaining. It was more even than I thought it was going to be, honestly. And it was weird because we're going to the decision. ESPN Deportes, they have their own version of a David or a Harold Letterman. It's their unofficial official. And this dude had like Perella winning by like 3 or 4 rounds, some shit like that. And I was like, oh shit, really? What the hell? And then I see the actual scorecards and I'm like, what the hell? Like they're like wide as hell in either direction. I don't know what the fuck the judges were watching. I wasn't scoring it myself. I was just watching the fight because it was actually pretty damn entertaining. But I mean, I was thinking maybe Harrison was going to put on a good performance, enough to get himself a trilogy against Charlo, try to get his belt back, right? After this performance, I'm not so sure about that.
There you go. Never let it be said we don't talk about the PBC with or with Andrew here. As a note, before we start the next series of stories, I may be forced to actually talk boxing in the final stories of the evening. For those of you who don't know, I do know a little bit about boxing. Not much, but without Andrew here, it might be my job to actually talk serious boxing. But since we're not talking real boxing, let's talk about the shit show. Steve Cunningham, all 106 of them, took on the 55-year-old Frank Mir, whatever crazy amount of time, where, yes, Oscar De La Hoya legitimately lost his shit through the entire fight. If you did not get the Triller event, and you did not visit VIProw.net, and you are a part of the group that paid, how much was it, Miguel, for this card?
50 fucking bucks.
I started at Rayon, or Rycon, or Rycard, and his fight against whomever. And let's start with right guard, Raycon, whatever, who got his shit fucked. He won. No, he got fucked up by the other guy.
I think I missed that first fight. I think I got everything else after this.
Okay, right guard / Raycon. I think it's Raycon. And for those of you going, Lee, how do you not know modern hip hop rap artists? Right. Look at, that's why I put real video on. I really am white. I don't want to break it to people. I don't know Raycon's music from a goddamn hole in the head. So he got fucked up. Then there was an entire show of singing and dancing for the next hour.
Yes. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Which finally gets us to Steve. Which gets us. Yeah. Okay, that was the order. Yeah. Steve Cunningham was next after an hour musical, which featured kind of an NWA reunion, kinda. And then they all sat in big giant king's chairs with an original piece they all put together. I think if you know music and go, Lee, you're just so out of it. They were doing blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know blah, blah, blah. And Miguel, did you know blah, blah, blah when they sang blah, blah, blah when they were all in the king's chair?
I absolutely did not. Not only did I not know who the fuck they were, I didn't know what the hell they were singing. I didn't know how old or new the songs were. I didn't know jack shit. All I know is that this is how I ended up watching this fight. I was planning to stay home and watch all the fights minus this one, honestly, and just hearing about it later, right? So then I get, one of my close buddies. It's like a friend of the family. He's my cousin's husband, and they're gonna have a baby shower. They're gonna have a baby, so they had a baby shower. So he hits me up, right? It's my cousin's husband. Boyfriend, and he's like, hey dude, want to come and watch the fight? And I'm like, hold up, he's not a real fight fan. So I'm thinking, what fight are you talking about? Because there's a gang of fights on tonight. Well, he's like, well, Askren and what's his name, and fucking Jake Paul. Every time I invite him, I invite him, he comes over. So I'm like, oh, okay, let me all right, I'll go down there. Why not? Right now, right? Unbeknownst to me, it just so happens where we're watching the fight is actually where we're going to be hosting this baby shower. So I'm like, oh, good Lord. So I get there as the baby shower is ending, of course, and people are still kind of lingering. And then they sit down to watch this, dumpster fire of a pay-per-view card. And there's a bunch of young girls there, right?
It's not a dumpster fire. Oh, first of all, I got to say this for the record. This should be the most downloaded torrent on... I'm telling everybody to get an entire copy of this show. Just fast forward to Steve Cunningham's fight. Unless you're into all the rap artists. Yay, good for you. They recorded it well. But the 1 hour Justin Bieber thing just about killed me as well. But, all right, let's talk about the Steve Cunningham fight, right? Where it really became dumpster fire of, like, this is everything I've ever wanted in a pay-per-view all at once. All right? This explains first of all, it explains why the, THA, shout out to those guys, the boxing show exists. Because apparently fight fans like it when 6 people talk over each other. Right? That's all it is. Who can yell louder than the other?
Incoherently, yes. Who can speak over the other?
Incoherently and fucked up. I mean, they were legit. Like, Oscar was insane during the Cunningham fight, talking about opponents getting back into the ring, and this is why I want to fight. And Mario, right?
Oh,
he talks normal,
I felt bad for Mario
straightforward.
Lopez, dude.
Listen to me. The best part of this for me was his no affect. For those of you who don't know the word affect, that means talking without a dialect of any kind from any nation or part of the country. He sounded like a guy from California, which he is, and except when Mario. Like, Oscar is so white in real life, the only time he gets any form of Latino, I know he's not a girl. Latino at all was on the word Mario. But when he's fucked up, apparently he becomes very white, with like a guy with a stick. Like, he's a parody of white people when he gets fucked up. Like, he really, like, hey, I'm a white guy. Like, he was that white during the broadcast, except when he go, Mario. Which the contrast to me, while I'm watching Steve Cunningham literally fuck up Frank Mir and being nice to him at the same time. And what do I mean by that? We're going to talk about it right now. Frank Mir occasionally made the mistake of hitting Steve Cunningham legit, to which Steve Cunningham responded automatically, by launching missiles that fucked up Frank Mir. And let's just say this about Frank Mir. Tough son of a bitch, man. He took some rockin' ass bombs from Cunningham. Because Frank Mir every once in a while thought he was in a real fight and would catch Cunningham. And for those of you who don't know this, this is why if you know how to box, and this is what I get all the time with people, let's go sparly. I'm like, if you actually hit me, I'm going to hit you back. Like, you don't really want to do that because it's beyond my control. I don't think I'm a great fighter. I just know this. When I get hit, your next instinct is, oh, I should throw something really hard, really fast, because it's a flight or fight instinct trained into boxers, which in Steve Cunningham's elderly state, Jesus Christ, he launched a couple of missiles down the pipe at Frank Mir, who took him like a man. Like, he's a stud. I mean, I can't say enough for Frank Mir taking some of those punches. I start with you, Miguel, since we have no Andrew to start with and watch this. And that's now automatic out of my face. First of all, Frank Mir, tough son of a bitch. Second of all, Stephen Cunningham, I still think he can compete at cruiserweight based on what I saw. I mean, he could be the old man of the division, just sort of hanging around getting journeyman fights. So kudos to him for not taking a real fight. And thirdly, it was a dumpster fire. Oh my God, it was galore. How did you not sit there with a group of people and just laugh your ass off?
Well, I was internally laughing. On the outside, no, because Frank Mir is a local dude. He's from here in Vegas, so it's just like, okay, come on, let's see what we can do here, Frank. And then, as you mentioned, a couple of times he unloaded a couple of like live rounds, and Steve Cunningham was like, oh, okay. Then this is how we're going to do it. So then he threw a couple back, kind of checking. I'm like, don't forget, this is very much a sparring session, dude. So, tone down those fucking shots. But apparently Frank Mir forgot a couple of times and got stuck himself with a couple of shots. It was pretty obvious that Cunningham...
The Cunningham smile. I call it the Cunningham smile, where he'd launch a real missile down the pipe while Oscar was losing his shit. And then he'd launch one. And then all of a sudden, tell me if I'm wrong, like when they got to, this was a 6-round fight 6-round fight. When they got to the 6th round, Oscar went into this complete diatribe of leaving it all in the ring with two guys that are sparring. Well, like where he was like, I only picture him like Rocky Balboa and Rocky 5, like making air swings and standing up with the headset on, like he was in the ring having a flashback. And Frank Mir was just going, how many more seconds left in the round in his head? Like I could see it on him, but Oscar's like, you got to give it, like he's screaming at the ring to give it your all. Oh, it was so gloriously bad.
He was talking about something about bursting his bubble or something. It's like, come on, Frank, like hit the bubble or I don't know.
You don't want to be in the locker room. You don't want to be in the locker room
saying,
thinking you didn't leave it all in the ring.
Lord.
Mario,
like,
tell him.
His
Mario.
eyes were so glazed over. Like he kept calling fucking Steve Cunningham USSA or some shit.
USS,
like,
US,
like oh,
USSA.
good Lord. It was so bad. But I mean, like, it was good to not see, Mir on his back knock the fuck out once more, in his fight. But it was obvious. Look, Steve Cunningham, for those of you who don't know or may not know, this dude's got some pop. He's knocked down Tyson Fury, for fuck's sake, when Tyson Fury made his debut in the U.S. back in 2013. Like, dude has got some pop, So, of course, he took it easy on Mir, and it was an exhibition, really, is what it was. So, keep in mind, this was supposed to have been Antonio Tarver. I don't know if the fight would have been exactly the same because, Tarver is older and, probably slower and, obviously not an active fighter. And who knows how well his chin is going to
Cunningham trained for this fight. He just basically showed up and did it. Like,
right.
Last minute,
just
Cunningham will do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
What?
It's just super last minute. He just like I swear he was gonna attend the fight just as a fucking spectator. They're like, "Hey, you want to fight?" I'm like, all right, I'll hop in there. I mean, maybe it would have been a little bit more even had it been Tarver. Who knows? But it was pretty obvious that Steve was kind of taking it easy.
Last question before we move into the actual fight of the evening. How did people who don't know shit about boxing respond to watching this dumpster fire?
The people who were at the baby shower or the people that lingered after the baby shower while they're watching it, they knew the performers basically, and they're like, "Hold on, so are we gonna watch some fights or no?" And I'm like, I had to know at this point, honestly. These damn performances are taking so much time on the pay-per-view, broadcast. I don't even know if we're gonna get some fights at this point. But it was basically concerts splashed in with some fights. Essentially,
yeah, it was. I don't want to say that I was ahead of my time because people are going to go, "You're just talking about yourself." Yes, I do a lot. when I did Rock Box with Bonaducci, that's what this was. We had like these gimmicked matches with pseudo celebrities. I was the main event with Bonaducci, but we had Helmet, we had POD, and we'd mix in Rock in between each of the rounds. And it was way ahead of its time. Like nobody understood what the fuck they were watching. Which kudos to the promoter for being that far ahead at the time and ultimately business. I'm always intrigued. As a personal note, because we've never talked about this with you, when you watch boxing with casual fans, how is it for you?
To be honest, I try to avoid that as much as I can.
Yeah, me too.
I try to not have people who don't watch fights around me for that reason. Because I've invited back in the between 2005, 2010, 2011, I had casual fans come over and watch UFC cards and didn't know jack shit what was going on. They didn't know anything about the scoring. They just thought it was gonna be like a tough man between dudes with smaller gloves. That's literally what they thought. So I've kind of strayed away from that, but it's a bit of a headache because it's like trying to explain to them while I'm trying to I'm trying to enjoy the fights. It's like multitasking, trying to explain the scoring system, all this other crap. So it's a bit of a headache to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut unless they start booing, because then that hurts my feelings. And I'm like, no, don't you damn ever boo a fighter. But nonetheless, I try to avoid actually having casual fans around me when I'm watching fights.
Even people who watch sports who think they know about boxing or boxing history, it's painful for me because I get that I play me. People are listening. What do you mean, Lee? This isn't how you are all the time? Kinda. I'm very laid back in real life. I know you guys won't believe it, but I am. I picture Andrew just telling everybody to shut the fuck up when they start to talk about boxing a lot, when he goes somewhere to somebody's house. But I know this about Andrew's friends because I've hung out with him. They actually know boxing, and he's kind of isolated himself with people who watch boxing. And he is super fun to watch boxing with. I think he fits right in. I'm like you. I'm like, yeah, I ultimately have learned to just shut up and let him. Triple G's going to fight Canelo again. I don't even know why we're talking about that.
Yeah. And he's going to beat him, right? He's going to knock him out. Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, do you remember that fight with where they start to talk about fights and go, hey, Lee, do you remember that fight with, it's my running joke. The number one thing I get from Fight Net Radio, and tell me if I'm wrong about this for you. Hey, Miguel, you remember that fight? Like, I don't know, like a week ago or a month ago with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? Are they going to fight again?
Yeah.
What?
Yes, I do get that.
It's my favorite thing in the world. You remember? Well, that's not real. I heard on the news that Deontay Wilder is going to fight a gorilla in a zoo.
Yeah.
I just heard it in the news. Well, that's not actual and blah, blah. And I'll start to explain it like a rational person because guess what? I am actually reading these stories, so I'm kind of aware of the current news, and we use kind of reputable sites. I'm not using like the UK Mirror or anything. And if we did, it would be my favorite boxing show ever. I may one week just do that UK site that basically is the National Enquirer for boxing. And by the way, this is a real website. There is a National Enquirer version. For those of you in Australia, shout out to Sam Navajero and the flavored gelato.
Yeah.
The National Enquirer is basically a rag newspaper that just puts out crazy stories, right? Like they're mostly made up. I don't know how the fuck they do it or stay in business. Like, oh, I don't know, Donald Trump is really an alien type shit. There is a boxing version in the UK that has the most outlandish motherfucking stories based on the most hearsay shit I've ever seen. And I am dying one Sunday to... When we get to a dull period this summer, like there was no fights or something, I guarantee I'm going to do a 100% show
on those stories
from like the past week.
Yes.
So the spin on it would be Steve Cunningham actually took steroids and has found the fountain of youth with bionic limbs. Like that would be the story for this fight. I love it.
Do you remember Bat Boy? Do you remember that shit, Bat Boy?
Yeah, Bat Boy.
That's gonna be, who's the bad boy of boxing? Who would that be? I don't know, but we need to do one of those shows of just nothing but these fucking like National Enquirer or whatever type of stories.
And for those of you wondering, don't all sites have those? No, we use Fight News and Boxing Scene. I don't want to break it to anybody. These guys write real stories because They write real stories. And we do the editing for them. By the way, they did edit that story from last week after we brought up the mistake they made in the story. Shout out to everybody who listens to the show. Moving forward, the actual fight of the evening, Regis Prograis, who actually made the most of anybody on the fight card.
Yes, rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Rougarou. All right, so he did get the TKO over Ivan Redcock, but I never thought much of Ivan Redcock to begin with. Here's my question. This guy puts on an awesome performance as a nobody, right? An unsigned, no organization guy. He's still a nobody who's trying to find that niche, right? Mm-hmm. He's partnering up with Snoop, who's clearly going to dump money into him. For the light heavyweight to cruiserweight division and make any money, make any noise, as he always. We're back to the debate. Can you make any money in boxing?
Oh, your mic was cutting in and out again.
Oh, I moved again.
Oh.
Are we better now?
Okay, we're better now. Okay.
Yeah, I can't move.
No.
I should have never have used these mics. I apologize to everybody listening to the show. I'm moving the studio. All right. Oh, and I just see the mic I could have used. What a dick. Fuck.
Next time.
All right. Can Regis Prograis ever make any money? And 850 is a lot of money for this fight. But this is also because he's fighting on a Jake Paul, Logan Paul, whichever Paul fight card. A standalone guy in the lightweight, cruiserweight division that should be looked at.
He's so I mean, yes, I do think that there's a possibility for him to make money. Keep in mind, this dude was in the super, what is it, the World Boxing Super Series, and made it to like the finals, losing to Josh Taylor. He's easily one of the still top three, arguably, junior welterweights in the world. The dude has got legit skills. I'm glad he got paid last night because deservingly the dude is still one of the top notch guys in the weight division. Fighting somebody like Ivan Redcock, who pretty much went down like a soccer player pretending to get punched in the cock. For those of you who might or may not recall, Ivan was the dude who bit Danny Garcia in the fight. He literally fucking bit him like on his neck or his like trap or something. Dude isn't exactly the classiest of opponents, but I was glad to see Regis win. I was glad to see that, however the hell it happened. I don't know how the hell the referee. I mean, we spoke about this earlier. The instant replay. How the hell you would think that was actually a low blow and consider it like an intentional low blow when it was totally not. Every angle, and it didn't take but like two angles for the entire commentator crew to basically throw Redcock under the bus and talk about how he's looking for the door, which he was, understandably so. But these dudes, instead of being objective about it, they were just like super one-sided and were totally throwing Ivan under the bus. But anyway, I do think that Regis can make some money. I think he's going to have to sign with somebody very soon because I don't know how long he can keep this going up, but just kind of jumping from one card to another. The last time I think I saw him, he was on a PBC card, and now he's here. I don't know where he's going to show up next. It would benefit him to get with one of these guys. Maybe Top Rank. Maybe go back to, or I think he was with Debella before, but maybe Top Rank. Considering they have a lot of the top 140 pounders in the world, and on top of that, they have Teofimo Lopez, who is at 135, maybe, moving up to 140. Maybe he stays with Triller, and, we know that the Teofimo and Cambosos are going to be fighting on the Triller card. They're going to be the main event, of course, so maybe that'll be down the line. He can stay with Triller a little bit longer. I certainly think he can make money doing what he's doing, but I think it's going to be a point where he's going to eventually have to sign with a promoter. Oh, did I lose you?
Did you lose me?
A little bit. Yeah, there you go. I see.
All right. So I really can't move at all. So to the credit of whoever is setting up the evening for Triller, putting in one real fight amongst all the horseshit, put Regis Prograis on the map. I mean, I can safely say that. He got more eyes on him than he probably did during the entire Super Series, for sure.
Yeah.
And more importantly, they're structuring these cards correctly. Yeah, you can say that some people tuned in for, Snoop and, for the rap stuff with everything, or even Justin Bieber for that matter. God knows what his fucking demographic is in this horse shit, right? Because right after this, we got a 1 hour Justin Bieber concert, which it was mind blowing the way they structured.
How did they
event.
get so much? Like, how do they have so much money to not just throw? They gave a lot of money to these.
I think the singers were all there as favors to Snoop. Okay, this is how you do it. I think the favors are all Snoop favors that he called in to launch this thing. I think you paid these guys real money. Everybody else made chump change and did it for the exposure. I think Askren and Paul, we saw what their numbers were. I'll be real shocked if this thing, everything probably cost Snoop's company $5 million. I mean, tops. The way I was looking at it, it looked like about $5 million on paper, plus or minus. And I know we'll never get real disclosures on what it takes with production and renting the Superdome, but I suspect all the performers, including Bieber, were all favors. There's no way you could have put them on stage like that. No way.
Did you hear them steal your joke? And they're like, "'Cause this is Triller." Like, they literally stole your joke, dude. They stole your fucking joke.
I don't think it's an original joke. I call it the Lee Honish rule.
Sure.
So the Lee Honish rule is very simple, and I say this with most things that I do, even including my day job. If I thought of it, somebody else is doing it. And that takes us after a Justin Bieber memorial concert. Yes, he's still around. And he played 26 instruments and played piano and did a ballad, and they had fireworks, lots of fireworks.
Pyro and everything.
Which left us with the main event of the evening. Everybody passed out at this point, which left us with Al Bernstein not saying a word. Grimeface, the dude from PBC, and Mario Lopez trying to explain this with Snoop back at the table. The main event of the evening, Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Ben, who looks like he did not train whatsoever for this fight, legit, like looked bad even for a gym owner, came out gooey and doughy and all full of goo, with somebody holding up a cardboard sign saying, "No joke, this is Ben Askren," which I thought was hilarious beyond words. Which Jake Paul went in and, yes, fundamentally and technically he looked very good, and then launched a big looping, anybody could see that coming, including me, right hand over the top of Ben, who was still not taking this fight very seriously, got clipped by a monstrous shot. Ben went down. Ben got up. Ben moved around. And then suddenly, and this is where I cry foul, something clicked inside of Ben's brain, and he wobbled a little bit after all of it, to which the referee decided that it was a TKO and that he could not continue the fight. I will give you my account. My account of watching this goes as follows. Ben was in there to have fun. Jake Paul took it way too seriously. Jake Paul launched a stupid right hand that anybody with a jab would have just fucking clipped this guy right on the chin and set up their right hand, because it was that big a looping, putting my head down, looping punch. Like, it was way out of right. Like, man, it was out of right.
Telegraphed like a motherfucker.
Telegraphed like a motherfucker. Like, quick jab, right hand, his ass is down. Game over. He was so exposed on the punch that I was watching it going, I can take Jake Paul. Even at my age, my skill level, I would have done better than Ben Askren in that fight. No doubt about it. I could have done it. What Jake has going for him is he's young, he's hungry, and he actually believes he knows how to box, which is hilarious. I'm an elite level boxer, which is hilarious. Launches this looping right hand, and Ben got hit, and Ben went down. Ben was already moving before the count was up. He got up, he looked fine, and Ben was kind of looking around the ring and thinking about it, and then suddenly he got wobbly after that, in that order, because he came forward and was fine, and then he was thinking about it, and he's like, what am I doing? I already got paid. Fuck this. And then, from personal experience against a personal fight with Danny Bonaducci, where I got hit for real by Danny in a exhibition, I went, what the fuck am I doing? Well, I literally pushed, because he had broken my nose at that moment, I literally pushed blood out of my nose. I snotted out to get blood down the front of me and then wobbled around. I cry that Ben played that up. Ben wanted out because literally once the fight was over, he was out of the ring with his wife and heading back to the locker room, just looking for a payday in a car. Snoop thought it was great. Everybody at the podium thought it was great. And my favorite part was the still quiet, high as a kite, Al Bernstein, who had not said a word during the entire fight, arms crossed, just smiling and sitting there. Please give me your take on the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight.
Well, okay. For starters, yes, Askren did look like a doughy mess in that fight, of course, right? Leading up to everything, it was obvious that Ben Askren wrestled in college at 175, fought professionally at 170. These guys were fighting at 191 or something. We all know that Jake is a lot heavier and a lot bigger. He's a bigger dude, basically, a powerful guy. I'm not saying he does not. So it was obvious that to make this fight happen, it was going to be Askren moving up, right? And you can tell dude has a major, spare tire. It's what it is, I mean, like, we're talking, I don't even know how many rounds this was supposed to have been, but we figured it wasn't going to go the distance anyway, and I'm sure that Ben Askren didn't figure that out either. So he came in looking like a doughy fucking mess. His right off the bat, there were a couple of times where Jake threw the lead hooks and they landed kind of like on Askren's forehead or head or whatever the hell. It's like, oh geez, clearly this whole training camp he didn't do a fucking day of defense. Like, nobody taught him any fucking defense. They just said offense, see if we can land on Jake, and no one taught what's his name, Askren any defense whatsoever, because the way he brought his hands up, it was like amateur day one stuff, basically. Somebody throws a punch at you, someone splashes water in your face, you kind of bring your arms up. That's pretty much what Askren was doing. And Jake threw that right hand. I think he threw it twice before, if I recall correctly, and it didn't land. It was just basically landing on Askren's arm. He kind of sort of blocked it by raising his arm, and then the last one actually landed. So, Askren goes down. His head kind of hits the canvas. His face basically damn near goes face down on the canvas. He's pretty messed up because that shot was hard. He goes down like a sack of potatoes, and then he gets up, and the referee's counting, right? And the referee, I think, is kind of actually giving him a little bit more time because I think Jake was not in the neutral corner or something like that. So then the referee would turn around and kept pushing Jake back, dude, get back until I tell you to come out of the corner. So then that just gave Askren more time to recover. So I thought, okay, this fight's going to go on a little bit longer. And then the referee does one of these things like, okay, come to me. And that's when Askren kind of stumbles, and the referee's like, okay, no, that's enough, and calls it off. I mean, it wasn't going to get any better for Askren. He was probably going to get knocked out cold out, eyes closed, Undertaker type shit, had the fight continued. So I understand that. I don't know if maybe, I don't know. Maybe Askren was kind of faking the wobble. It looked legit. I don't know. The punch fucked him up. Maybe. I don't know. When you think about somebody throwing a fight, you think of them taking a body shot that wasn't really on the body and just take them 10 count, not getting clocked clean on the face the way he did. So I don't know. You can risk a lot more if you get cracked in the face like that if you're throwing the fight. I don't think he threw it, but the referee knew what was coming and stopped the fight. It was one of those sympathy, the referee that stopped, Conor and Mayweather when he had him up against the ropes. It's like, okay, that's enough. You've gotten your ass beat for enough. I don't know. I don't think he threw it. Askren, I don't think he threw the fight, but kudos to the ref because he knew what was going to happen and it wasn't going to turn out good had he let the fight continue.
So before I get your final report card, I will give my pros and cons and what I thought was actually the highlight of highlights in the entire thing for me, and it was not Oscar. The pros, we got really good Regis exposure and real boxing showed up. The cons, can you put some more fucking derelict monkeys together and let them get high and drunk and talk about boxing, including Pete Davidson? The slap fight thing as an interlude was hilarious. Yes. With Ric Flair. The other one that I really thought was way kind of, there's a lot of little things that I like a lot about it, and I would give it a high scorecard. It wasn't Tyson versus Roy Jones, which was their debut. The highlight for me was Jake Paul's kid or nephew or whoever that little kid was, picking him up to take a photo with him. I suspect his kid because he is white trash from Ohio. I don't know shit about the dude. Picking that kid up to take photos and give him a hug, and then literally push him away with his backhand to go back to taking solo photos. That brought me so much goddamn joy to see he's that much of a piece of shit. And the fact that whoever Grimeface is, any day, anywhere, anytime, any kind of fight you want, Doughboy. I realize I've been out of a mat and a ring forever. I would get up for that fight. He is so goddamn irritating. I only assume that he has pictures of Snoop Dogg with an actual goat at a party. I that's my takeaway. But I enjoyed it. I mean, excluding the, rap horse shit. I mean, I had the UFC going, and we'll talk about it in a moment. So I could change the screens as I wanted to. I didn't find it horrible. I mean, I didn't feel, if I had spent $50, I'd feel horrible, like I need a shower.
Yeah.
But what are your final takeaways?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't spend $50, and I mean someone else did. Although I do kind of feel for them, because I would feel like you. I would need a shower and like burn my clothes after paying $50 for something like this. I don't know what grade I'd give it. Maybe a D minus. And that's being generous because we got to see Regis in a high profile exposure.
Oscar was great.
Dude,
all the jokes we've made for literally a decade. I feel like I need to go back and get this just to isolate the audio and do a single show and just put it out of the audio of the commentary from that fight for everybody to listen to, because it is so astounding how fucking off the deep end Oscar was. It's like literally every joke we've ever made. Every joke I've ever made, he nailed it.
Everyone was high as shit. I mean, even just there was a moment where they like panned the camera over to Al Bernstein, and like off to the side is Pete Davidson like blowing smoke into his face. It's like, oh geez, he's trying to get him, trying to get him high. Holy crap! There was a period where they did a little montage video package of DMX, and then they actually mentioned Marvin Hagler, who also recently passed away, right? And fucking Snoop Dogg is talking to Ice Cube with the shot of the ring behind him, and Snoop goes to fucking turns to Cube, and he's like, Cube, you have any memories of Hagler or Marvin Hagler? And then Cube stays like silent for a couple seconds, like, man, I'm ready. Like, what the fuck? And then he just goes on. He goes to continue with whatever the DMX package is. Holy crap! It was I cannot. It was funny. I'm not gonna lie. It was funny. I don't know how entertaining it was, but I mean, I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say it was a D minus of a show because we got to see Regis as the only friggin'. I mean, not that he fought a great opponent necessarily, but holy hell, what a clusterfuck of a commentating group. I don't know. D minus is me being generous.
As a bonus for you guys, because it is the two of us and we rarely get to do it, there was a UFC Fight Night, which actually delivered as the best free event if you do have ESPN Plus and ESPN Basic. I enjoyed myself thoroughly with the ESPN card. I don't know why I did. I didn't think anything was too standouty. I just thought it was a really solid fight night card by and large. There were a couple of fights right in the middle of the actual telecast that I thought, everybody else was really interesting. The dude with the fro was interesting. I'm never going to see him in a main event. All of it was fairly entertaining. So for those of you who are wondering what are the biggest takeaways from UFC Fight Night, Andrei Arlovski fought. So let's start right there. Andrei Arlovski fought Miguel.
Yes, he former UFC heavyweight champion. He's been in and out of the promotion countless times. He made his UFC debut back at UFC 28 in November of 2000. That's how long the motherfucker's been fighting. Right. So, he's on the way out, but I mean, they just keep giving him fights and he keeps winning and he fucking won, and he won last night. So it's like, all right. I mean, again, we're not talking about high class opponents or top notch dudes, but the dude is still in there and he's still getting wins and he's still getting paydays. And, he's been knocked the fuck out several times. Don't get me wrong. And his chin sure as hell is not what it used to be. But he's still in there and he's still throwing down and he ends up coming away with a win last night.
This is a man who fought Fedor Emelianenko in Pride. Right. That's how crazy the length of time is here. I was at Pride LA when Orlovsky was teeing off on Fedor until Fedor finally shrugged in one round.
The Affliction show. Yeah.
The Affliction show, right? Where
Yes.
yeah, the Affliction show where like Orlovsky is killing Fedor in the corner, and then at one point Fedor like had it was all a brain fart, and he remembered he was Fedor and hit the dude once and put him out. Like it was all over at that point, and it was the most. I'm like, Orlovsky's going to be the man to defeat Fedor,
Yes.
and I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, this is really happening right in front of me. It was at the pond, I think, and it was mind blowing. And then Fedor like ate his Popeye spinach and then fucked him up, and that was the end of the fight. Like it was just like that. So that'll tell you how far back this goes. Main event of the evening. Are you a fan of the what is it? The Ultimate Fighter, and they kept jamming the fucking story down our throats of water slides and competitions. So set it all up and tell me about the main event.
All right, so these guys were supposed to fight before. This was a couple of years back when Robert Whittaker was the middleweight champ. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they were coaches of The Ultimate Fighter, whatever season that was. I don't even watch it anymore, to be honest. I didn't even know they still had the damn show.
Did we ever say that this was Whittaker versus Usman? Did we ever say that at any point?
Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum.
I mean, Kelvin Gastelum.
Yes,
Usman's in the mix, by the way.
That
That's
was
part of this story. That's all part of the story.
There we go.
Gastelum versus Whittaker. Okay, pick it up from there. I don't think we said the name of the fight.
So this is so they were supposed to fight back in a couple of years ago. For whatever reason, I want to say it didn't happen. Robert Whittaker got injured, and then it ended up being Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya, and then the rest is history. Basically, they had a killer fight. Adesanya won the interim title, eventually took the actual title from Robert Whittaker. I want to say this fight was scheduled 2 times before, and they finally got a chance to fight last night, and it was a doozy of a fight. To touch on the whole card, most of the main card, if not all, went the distance, so we would think like, oh, it must have been a boring card. It was actually quite entertaining, including
started off with a fucking barn burner.
Yes. I mean, and there was a barn burner that was actually like removed from the card. Like, I don't know if you know, but there was a fight in the co-main event that was going to be a fucking slobber knocker that got removed because this is from what I understand, they were face to face at the weigh-in, and then one dude shoved the other dude, right? And it's like, okay, calm down. So then that's the end of the weigh-in. The dude who got shoved apparently like strained something in his neck, and then later on, and then he ended up getting removed from the fight altogether. So that fight would have been a hell of a scrap to add to this card. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but nonetheless, back to the main event. This was a very, very entertaining fight and very significant for the middleweight division because this is leaning towards a potential rematch with Robert Whittaker and Israel Adesanya. If you want to watch their first fight, I highly suggest it because it's pretty good scrap as well. But Robert Whittaker ended up coming away with a victory, 5 rounds. It was a very, very fun fight. He did his thing. He's staying on top. He's looking better than ever.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to pretend that I know about MMA for a minute, maybe. Whittaker was ranked number 1 going into the fight. Gastelum was ranked number 7 or 8 in this fight. And it was pretty close to a pick'em for the whole fight. And it's a big deal for Whittaker to get his shot back at the title. I don't know. It was a good decision. It was a good fight. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I'm a Robert Whittaker fan. I don't know, because they hyped it up for so long throughout the entire event of, oh, I think he's going to stand up. No, I think he's going to use his wrestling. No, I think he's going to stand up. And it was exactly as I thought it would be. 2 guys who are elite level MMA fighters who went at it, and the best guy won. Whittaker is really, really good. I just don't know if he's the best in that division. This happens a lot in the UFC. I've seen it historically with the UFC. Number 1 can be number 1 forever. Francis Ngannou is a perfect example of, you're not good enough to beat the champion just yet, but you're better than everybody else in the division, so you're basically at number 1. And Dana tries to get rid of number 1 contenders who fail usually at getting the title by just throwing the whole division at him to bounce him out. This happened to Rich Franklin. This happened to.
It happened to
like it's a
George St. Pierre,
historical
man.
thing that he did it to BJ Penn.
Yeah.
Because BJ Penn was just a lot better than everybody else in the top 10, but he wasn't good enough to get his title back. So it's. And Dana just his team just doubles down on that horse shit, and they are really fucked up. Like they'll throw the division at you to try to get you out of there until you lose. And Whitaker came up. He's going to get the next title shot again. It's the only thing that makes sense.
It's coming. And you know what? He fought that first fight without, the only fight without Adesanya. He fought it the wrong way. You know, he was coming in there like the challenger. He was attacking Adesanya and he was marching forward. He was the champion. He was supposed to let Adesanya come to him, and he was the one that was initiating the exchanges. And all Adesanya had to do was take a step back, use his reach, and clock him on the way in, and that's exactly what happened. So he's going to come into this fight, should he get it, against Adesanya with a little bit of a different game plan, I hope at least, and it's going to be a better outcome for him. Rather than he wins or beats Adesanya, I don't know. That I'm not too sure. But nonetheless, he definitely earns that the rematch, or has earned that rematch. He's already beaten two of the top dudes, well, several other ones. You know, to touch on what you were saying earlier, this happened with John Fitch. John Fitch fought George St. Pierre for the title and basically, you know, got his ass handed to him, but it was way better than everybody else in the division. And he was like the consensus, like second best guy in the division for years until eventually someone knocked his ass out. But I hope this doesn't happen to Whitaker. I hope he gets his shot at the title a lot sooner. Of course, a rematch, I should say, at the title. And it's looking like that's the direction they're going.
Well, look at what they did to DC in his final 3 fights. That's right. Basically, we're going to get you out of here. We realize you're the number one.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah, right. So here's 3 more guys who are in the top 10. Just beat one of them. We're happy to give you another title shot. And he just fucking pelts them. Just fucking, you get pelted by Dan. And this is why I say, for as much as Andrew craps on MMA and the UFC in general, yeah, they don't get paid. Yes, Venom gear, which we found out during this event. We're now using Venom gear to walk to the ring. There's a takeaway. Give credit to for Dana being a boxing promoter and figuring it out for his division of, yeah, if you're number one contender and you're not good enough to beat him, I'm over it. So here's 3 guys from the division, and it's usually 2 to 3 guys that'll take out a number one. They'll let you and they'll drop you down 1 or 2 places. Then they'll pelt you again, and then they'll give you someone just outside the top 10 to retire you. And it's a really good formula that I wish they did in boxing, right? Oh, you lost your championship. Cool. If you're not doing it, it wasn't a close fight. Fight someone in the top 10, usually the upper end. Okay, drop down a few places. Fight someone in the division again. Nope, you didn't win that one. Here's Chris Arreola. Good luck. Yeah. And if Chris Arreola takes you out, fucking retire. Have some dignity. If Andy Ruiz loses to Chris Arreola, retire. Have some dignity. Yeah. Have some dignity. I mean, I wish the formula played out in actual boxing, but I think this goes to Dana White actually knowing about boxing and what he was disappointed in as a boxing fan. And it shows. UFC from about... you know, that sweet spot, you know, you got George St. Pierre, Matt Hughes, you've got Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, BJ Penn, and there are good guys for them to fight as well. Like, that's kind of the golden era of they figured out the formula somewhere in there. But how many chances did Chuck Liddell get? I mean... Jesus Christ, we'll give you Rich Franklin, who's 2 weight divisions smaller than you. There should be no issue. I was in Ohio was in Ohio, as I recall. No. Rich Franklin's another guy who suffered from that too. Like, Rich Franklin was like the second best guy for like 3 fights in a row. And
he was a company man. Every time they needed an opponent, he's like, sure, I'll do it.
Wow. And he would get fucked up every time he fought for the championship, like fucked up. I mean, he wasn't even in close in some of his fights, but he always kicked around. Like, just
even that fight with Liddell, he broke his forearm. Liddell threw a kick at him and he blocked it and he broke his fucking forearm and he still knocked him out. Knocked him out with it like an uppercut or something. I was at the fight. Like, did that just happen? And wow.
Well, that'll do it for this week's Fight Net Radio. We gave you a full and complete 1 hour and 40 minutes of Fight Net Radio goodness. If you didn't like the second section with me and Miguel, go fuck yourself. Somebody might get sick one day. In fact, I threaten you all with this. I may very well let Andrew and Miguel do a show by themselves.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Right now, Sam Navajero is typing furiously. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Hey,
yes, Bob.
Can't take the heat. Get out of the kitchen. Maybe we need to compete with those other boxing shows where they just talk boxing. I'll put Miguel in charge of pulling all the stories and reading them off to Andrew. He'll do his commentary. They'll bounce back and forth per probably half hour per story. They'll do 10 stories, plus or minus. That's about what we do. And the show will take, I would guess, 5 hours. 5 hours. They'll never get off of each topic. And it'll be on fighters that we never fucking talk about on this show. Ever. I think it would be like a deep dive into left tackles in the NFL. That's what I think it would wind up and look like if you're looking for a comparison. With that said, go check out that guy. His name is Miguel Antonio Barragan. He is at Fight Fiend Migs on both YouTube and the Instagrams. He is working diligently on his next 50-part epic. I can't say enough about the content he's been putting out on those channels. We've talked about him repeatedly over the week. He took a week off to watch that amazing Triller card. So we'll look forward to whatever piece he comes up with next week on those channels. Did you do a watch along for the UFC?
I did not know. I was too
you know what? I should get the video for Triller. I bet it doesn't have copyright on it. You and I should do a watch along of the Triller card.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That would be just heavenly.
That's gold.
To go back. Because I'm doing commentary to myself. Someone was going to watch it with me, and he never showed up. He got stuck at somebody else's house. He's like, is it everything you thought it would be? I said, it's everything and more. It's everything I dislike and love about this moment. It's because I am basically the guy. I know it sounds trite for me to say it, but if I wrote a book, I Did It First would be the title of that book. Like, I just sat there and went, wow, this is like the full realized version of the shit we were trying to do in 2007 and done right and well with bigger celebrities. Like it was all being done very well. I didn't feel cheaped by the production aspects of it. And letting everybody get fucked up was just, I want them to announce Monday Night Football. Like I would find so much joy. Like I'm sure they really thought, oh, we'll get Al Bernstein and that'll make it legit.
Yeah. And
until you get him high, people. Until you get him high, people. I download it, watch it. I'll try to talk Miguel this week into doing a watch along when I get over to the new studio. We'll just skip through the concert section. I'll cut it up, just the fights, and that might be the most successful thing we've ever done. Go check us out at fight.net.radio. Click subscribe, smash the like button. They say it on all the videos now.
They do.
They do. And we will be back with more. Thanks for listening.